What's going on, guys? It's Charr here. Now, quick disclaimer, before you watch this video, please make sure to go to the description down below and check out every single card creator reveal that was revealed the past couple of weeks. It's been 2 weeks, I think, since the last reveal, but regardless, if you have not seen all the great work and effort all of the content creators in our space have put into these reveals, please make sure to check them out before we get into this video. We're just having some fun ranking the cards on my own, metrics of power and fun today, but if you haven't seen them, please show them some support. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Anyways, let's go ahead and get to the video. What's going on, guys? We are here at the video. Now, for today's video, I wanted to just keep it light, keep it easy, and let's do a tier list. So I was trying to think of what I should do it on, and I had this idea of when all these reveals were kind of current, and I was thinking of making like a kind of a short series, doing a quick rapid fire analysis and prediction of how good I think all the cards that the content creators revealed will be in the game. But I kind of felt like it wasn't right because I feel like I would have been taking attention away from their own reveals, even though I would have done it like a week or two after. I still thought it would have been in good faith to reach out and ask them beforehand. But I thought what better way to commemorate what the old release date of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was to kind of take that idea and turn it into a fully fleshed out video tier list just for fun, predictions for all the content creator spoiler cards that they revealed. So I hope I'm not stepping on any toes here. I think it's been long enough, and please, as always, before we talk about the specific cards here, please go and watch the reveals and leave a like and show some support, and then you can come back and engage in this kind of fun, laid back discussion. So the first set of cards we're going to go over were revealed by the Winning Hand podcast. Boom guy's a great friend of mine. You've seen him on the channel before. He's collabed in the past with me on Marvel Rewind, and he got to announce two cards, one of them being Intelligence, and the other one I am blanking on right now, but it was another card as well. It's Intelligence and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So like I said, I was thinking of doing shorts for this initially, so I do have a couple of notes here on my phone where it was kind of like what my initial thoughts were when I saw the card, and I was doing this for basically all of the cards until I realized that I probably wasn't going to do it anymore. But yeah, so we're basically going to give them a fun rating, a power rating, and then throw them on a tier list and just talk about the card in general. So let's start off with Intelligence here. So this is a 1 cost Justice upgrade preparation, max 1 per player, and it has a response. After a player is dealt an encounter card, you discard Intelligence, look at each encounter card dealt to each player and the top card of the encounter deck. You may swap any number of those cards. So I think looking at this from a fun standpoint, it kind of like lets you laugh in the face of the villain, and like his encounter cards that he originally gave to all the players on the table, you kind of rearrange them to make them work out best for you, and it kind of goes in your favor, and resolving it would be really fun. For me, that's a 5 out of 5. If we're talking about from a power standpoint, I think specifically in solo, you're going to have a hard time differentiating this from a card called like Spycraft, which is, you need the spy character, and you can kind of like cancel a treachery and reveal another card. But I think it's really good in multiplayer settings to keep everyone healthy or provide a minion or like boost for certain heroes, like giving Thor a minion, for example. And we can't ignore that it has really great synergy with the already existing Justice Black Widow deck. She's on the card, everything works out, 5 out of 5. I have no comments on this. If I think this card is just a 5 out of 5, all things considered. And we'll go ahead and throw them on the tier list. So we have the fun and the power tier list here. Like I said, 5 out of 5 was, okay, there we go. So we got Intelligence here in the S tier. That's going to kick us off, and then we're just going to go throw it in the S tier down here as well. And cool. Yeah, I think no comments on that one. 5 out of 5 is perfect, and we'll move on to the next. So the next card that was revealed, again, make sure you check out the video, was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now this is a 3 cost support in leadership team card that says play under any player's control, max 1 team card per player. Then it says if each of your characters has the shield trait, this card gains interrupt. When you reveal an encounter card, exhaust this card, cancel the effects of that card, and discard it, then reveal another card from the encounter deck. So this is going to be my own opinion on this fun rating here, but I think that the card art on this is really great and fun. I love how dynamic it is, and there's some kind of lesser known heroes of the Marvel universe, because you know Shield isn't like the biggest thing in the world. And I like that team cards are kind of getting different effects in this game. It's not just buff your allies or reduce the cost of your allies or make upgrades on your allies cheaper. This one is like, no, this is around preparation or around, you know, encounter cards in specific, canceling and revealing another. For me personally, I tend to not value these effects very highly from a fun standpoint. I just don't like the idea of like getting an encounter card and then revealing something maybe slightly less bad or slightly worse. And then that kind of blends into the power aspect, where I feel like a lot of the shield cards in general already do this kind of encounter deck manipulation better. You have stuff like global logistics and maybe some cards we're going to see coming up here in the future of this video. But I feel like they kind of deal with this encounter deck manipulation in a much better way than this one does. And it's not as restrictive with like all the shield, all of your allies need to be the shield trait and whatnot. Even though Maria gets that on all her allies in general, if you're not playing her, I feel like that might be kind of rough. But I do think that on the positive side, this is a permanent effect. It stays on the field as long as you meet the condition. You can exhaust it once every turn, so you don't really have to, you know, be kind of, what's it called? It's not like a Stepford Cuckoo's that has like counters or whatnot. You can kind of be less, you know, I'm missing the word in my head. It's on the tip of my tongue. You could just be like less saving it. Like you can use it more recklessly. That was the word I was looking for. And as long as you meet the conditions, you just do it once per turn. Even though it's only when you reveal an encounter card, which kind of sucks for multiplayer, it makes sense because it is a team card. All of those things considered, I think it's a 4 out of 5, which would give it an overall score 2 out of 5, 4 out of 5. It would give it an overall score of 3 out of 5. So we'll go ahead and throw this one on the tier list now. So I said for a fun rating, at least for me specifically, I'm not a huge fan. I'd put it in a 2. So we're going to go ahead and put that there. And then for the power, I think 4 out of 5 is more than fair for a card like this. I think it's strong, but I don't think it's super strong by any means. And that is it for the winning hands reveals. Again, make sure you show some support, and we're going to move on to the next 2 cards. So the next 2 cards that were revealed were from VillainTheory. Again, make sure you check out the video before we talk about both of these cards, which we'll be getting into right now. So the first one of these cards is called Fury's Flying Car, which I think is probably one of the most hilarious cards I've ever seen. It is a 2-cost support aerial tech vehicle, and it has a hero action. You can exhaust Fury's Flying Car and remove 1 threat from your suit form upgrade. And then what you can do is, sorry, I was finding my notes on this. Ready Nick Fury. He gains aerial trait until the end of the round, and it has the flavor text. This job has its perks. Outside of the absolutely hilarious art and theming of this card, it's a cape. It's a cape. It's a 2-cost, you know, support. I guess it's not technically an upgrade, but it readies you and it gives him aerial. It's a cape, but it's a car, which makes it like 10 times better in my opinion. It's kind of hard to think about this conceptually without knowing how Nick Fury works. Essentially, he puts threat that he garners on his suit upgrade, and he can use that threat to spend it for a ready, to spend it for resources, or to spend it for extra damage on his basic activations or attack events. I would say from a fun standpoint, again, just look at this art. It's so good. The art, the flavor text, I mean, it's just like, I like readying, so like that also works well for me, and it's readying from a car and not a cape. This is a 5 out of 5. For thinking from a power standpoint, I mean, I love readying. Readying just makes your hero a lot more versatile. You can like use your activation, flip down, heal. You can, you know, attack twice, thwart twice, attack and thwart. It just puts so much versatility, and he's gonna have so much threat on his suit upgrade that it's not really much of a cost. And that hidden aerial trait that you gain really opens up a lot of opportunities for like dive bomb shenanigans with hone technique and his own threat counters. 5 out of 5. I think it's also extremely strong. So yeah, I don't have a ton of comments on that one. I really love Fury's Flying Car. It's great. It's great. I don't have much else to add. Okay, I don't know what was going on there. I was trying to, you know, do some, what's it called? I was trying to paste some, but yeah, there we go. There's one, and then we'll get the other one up in the power tier list. Cool. moving on to the next. So the next reveal we have from VillainTheory was EM Shield. This is a 2-cost upgrade. It's a preparation and tech because, you know, Nick Fury is introducing a lot more preparation cards with him, kind of supporting Black Widow in a way, not really on his hero cards, but kind of the ones he comes with. And it has an interrupt defense. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, discard EM Shield and prevent all of that damage. So when I'm thinking about this card from like a fun standpoint, I think the art here is really fun. I really like, you know, the circular effects of him like preventing all the damage. But I think that what it does, preventing damage, isn't a really fun effect to even do. Or, I mean, it saves you from losing the game, but like conceptually putting it on the table, spending 2 resources on it and having it sit there until, you know, you can prevent yourself from not dying, it's just not like fun. I don't really know how to say this. I'll give it a 2 out of 5. So when I'm talking about from a power standpoint, even though I don't necessarily really care for this ability of preventing damage, I think in harder difficulty scenarios, a card like this will have a place because you can wait until the damage is dealt, see how much it is, and then choose to discard it or not. So when you're in a really high pressure scenario, something like a Ronin swinging on you for 7, 8, 9 with overkill, you can just prevent all of that damage and discard it and be safe. Even though it's a bit of a resource sink, it's better than losing the scenario. I don't think the card is weak, I just don't think it's very fun. I'd give it a 4 out of 5, so for an overall score of 3 out of 5. So we'll go ahead and throw the EM Shield here on the tier list. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this. I said it was a 2 out of 5 for kind of fun and a 4 out of 5 for power. So that is what we're gonna go with. I would say, like, overall, you know, I have my own opinions on strength and how fun I think cards are. A lot of these card reveals at this point I think were pretty strong, even though I'm not a huge fan of all of them. They're not weak by any means, which is good. So that wraps up VillainTheory's reveals. Now we're going to Nelson all of our cards. Again, please make sure to watch the video and leave a like and some support, because you know, they put a lot of effort into the videos they made, and I'm just having some fun throwing out some opinions about them. So Nelson revealed 2 cards, and we're going to start with the first one being Life Model Decoy. So this is another 2-cost upgrade similar to the Nick Fury one we just saw, and it's also similar in very you know, more ways than one. Is a preparation tech card. Interrupt: when an enemy attacks you, discard Life Model Decoy, prevent all damage from that attack. Now, if you read these cards side by side, you're like, what is the difference here? And there are a couple of key ones. The first one is that, you know, Life Model Decoy doesn't have the defense trait where this one does. So you can maybe trigger, you know, any sort of like perfect defense cards. But also, EM Shield waits for when you would take damage from the attack. This one just says when they attack you, which are 2 completely different timings, if I'm understanding that correctly, which is a bit of an interesting choice in my opinion. I would say from a fun standpoint, similar to like the EM Shield Nick Fury had, I really love the art on this one. I don't have any criticism on that. It just looks really cool. But that being said, you know, preventing damage still isn't super fun for me, so I'll give that a 2 out of 5. If we're thinking about this power-wise, it just seems like a less flexible version of EM Shield. Preventing damage from big swing villains is always really good, but for a hero that's kind of based around all about shield supports and getting counters on the board and has a ton of high-cost cards already, 2 costs for this type of effect just doesn't seem great. It's just like the effect is okay and it's good in high pressure scenarios, but I feel like it's just not a super needed card in the kit. But that might just be me. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. And I'd say for an overall score, we'll say a 2.5 out of 5 for Life Model Decoy. So we'll go ahead and do that here. So we'll throw this into 2 out of 5. And then, why do I keep going to the bottom? I wonder why that happens. I feel like I'm not changing anything. Okay, so this one will be 2 out of 5. And then we will go ahead and throw this one, our first 3 out of 5. I think that the flexibility does actually hurt it a little bit here. If I had to, you know, give kind of a reasoning why this is our first 3 out of 5, that's probably why. Okay, we'll keep it going. So the next card that Nelson got to debut was All Points Bulletin, and this is a 2-cost event tactic hero action. For each shield support you control, you can choose one of the following. And again, it's for each of the ones that are under your control. And it says you can either remove one threat from a scheme or deal 1 damage to an enemy. So talking about this specifically from a fun standpoint, I like the idea of gaining power through all the helicarriers you're putting on the board. You're kind of putting all these helicarriers down to support you in solo and the whole table if you're playing in multiplayer. And this is kind of a card that kind of like, it's like the payoff for all of that kind of. When you have like 6 or 7 helicarriers down on the board, then it's turned into 2 for 7 damage or 2 for 7 thwarting, or like you can choose any sort of mix between them, which makes it really versatile. I think the art is really fun as well because it shows like Maria's kind of leading all of these troops to go and do these little instances of thwarting and damage, which I think is just really fun thematically. I give it a 3 out of 5. From a power standpoint, I feel like we're going to be getting a lot of criticism with Maria card specifically here, where I think this is a really necessary addition to her kit to be able to close out games, especially if you have a ton of helicarriers on a board. It could be a 2 for 7, 2 for 8 damage, just that last bit of damage you need for that final push. It seemed like it was an addition because her tempo is really slow early because you want these big helicarriers in play. But it's a slow card in itself. This card doesn't really start paying for itself even through basic aspect efficiencies until about 3 or 4 helicarriers on the table. And I feel like Maria probably would have had better slotted a card in this slot that's just a really basic, tempo card, 2 for 3 damage or 1 for 3 thwarting or something. But this one is really, obviously if you're getting those really low cost shield supports on the table like the field commanders, this can get built out earlier, so it's something that can help you take the tempo of the board back. But as it stands, it's just another really late game tempo piece that I don't think really helps her get to that late game very efficiently. I feel like she might have that kind of struggles early game if you're not in multiplayer to try and make it through some of these harder scenarios. So for that reason, I'd give it a 2 out of 5. So it was a 3 out of 5 and then a 2 out of 5. So an overall score of 2.5 out of 5. Though I will say I really do like this card, regardless of, kind of the ratings I ended up at here. I think for this, it does actually make sense to put it. So this was a 3 out of 5, and then we'll do a 2 out of 5 on down here in the power. Again, I don't think it's like completely weak by any means. I just wish that it was a bit of a higher tempo card for her to use. And that's going to cover Nelson's reveals right there. So again, make sure you show the support, and we're moving on to the next, which is D20 Woodworking. This was kind of the main YouTuber I watched when I was getting into the game. So we're going to be looking at the 2 cards he was able to reveal, starting with the first one being Slingshot. So Slingshot is a 3-cost ally, Yo-Yo Rodriguez, which is just an awesome name. I love the art on it as well. They're taking out like the aim soldier. It's a shield spy, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 health. And she has a really unique action which says spend an energy resource, put Slingshot into play from your hand under any player's control, and at the end of the phase, if she's still in play, return her to your hand. This card is just crazy. From a fun standpoint, playing an ally, mechanically isn't super fun. You just put it down, it does a thwart and attack and maybe blocks for you. But I just think the art, her hero name, and kind of like the name of the person themselves is just really fun. Slingshotting like a yo-yo, comes back and forth. All of it is just really good. I really also do find her ability to be played from your hand anywhere on a multiplayer table to be really fun, and will open a lot of really unique, I think, combos, which I think will end up being fun. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. When we're thinking power, though, what this card essentially reads as long as you spend a lightning bolt, an energy resource, it turns into 2 thwarting or 2 attack out of player order anywhere on the board. If someone needs a minion with guard, you can spend that energy resource, give them the ally, have them swing on it, and they can play their turn better. It could just, like I said, you need a side scheme like a crisis to be defeated out of turn order. You just have her played out of your hand. Since it's an action, it doesn't have to be hero alter ego. She can thwart for 2. She can get buffed. Maybe there's things that buff your allies' attack or thwarting, like a boot camp or something. And since it can combo, she can deal the 3 damage. And then also at the end of all of that, if the timing I'm understanding on this card is correct, if she's still in play and hasn't been used with any of the leadership cards Magneto came with, I'm forgetting their names right now, but you can kind of discard an ally and add their attack or thwart to your own attack or thwart, or the one that gives you a tough status. As long as she wasn't used in any of those ways to use up her last activation, she bounces back to your hand, essentially increasing your hand size by 1. So you spend 1 resource, and then the card does come out of your hand, so it's kind of 2 resources to do 2 thwart or 2 attack anywhere. And then you spend the rest of your cards in your hand to do something else, and then what you do is you draw back up to 5 plus 1 extra for 6. And her stat line isn't even bad anyways. I mean, 3 cost for 2 thwart, 2 attack, and 3 health is a pretty decent stat line. So I really love this ally. I think 5 out of 5. So 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5. Overall, we'll say it's a 4.5 out of 5. Go ahead and throw her on both of the tier lists. I really do, like this ally here. It's a lot of fun. So we'll go ahead and throw her here. And then we'll probably want to adjust that a bit. Cool. And then we will do, and then I said 5 out of 5 down here, so we'll actually do it like this. Cool. I don't know. I'm a big fan of this ally. I must admit. So, I like her. I like her placing. So we're gonna move on to the next one right here, being Melinda May, which was the second reveal from D20 Woodworking. So when we look at Melinda May here, she's a 4-cost ally, basic ally, so not leadership. She has 2 thwart and 2 attack, but she has an asterisk next to them, which indicates her response. And you can see response after she uses a basic power. Look at the top card of the encounter deck. You may discard that card. So let's talk about this. So from a fun standpoint, I think she's a bit expensive, but I do love encounter deck manipulation. I like the idea that there's so many cards in the game this can combo well with, in terms of taking encounter cards. Maybe the new Silk hero can combo with. If you had the villain stun or confuse in solo, you can see what your encounter card will be and you can make it better or worse. I really do love all of those aspects about it. I love encounter deck manipulation, and it gives an ally a really unique effect that isn't exactly in the game as of yet. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows for Melinda May, although I think this card is really good, kind of like in a Johnny build-around sense. I will say that for a power standpoint, I think 4 for this stat line specifically is a bit expensive. Obviously, she only has 3 health, which is to balance out how strong her response is. Obviously, she can get some ready, she can get healed, and you can use this effect over and over. But I feel like, you kind of compare her to something like an Agent 13, which is another basic shield ally. And I feel like her effect just goes a lot more, it's a lot longer, and it makes more sense, kind of like Voltron ally, to keep her around than this effect. I feel like in solo specifically, Melinda May is really strong, but I feel like overall, I'd rather throw something like an Agent 13 in my deck if I'm playing that kind of shield support type of style. I don't think she's bad. I just don't think she's the best slot in any deck if you're building for power specifically. I'll give it a 3 out of 5, which means overall, Melinda May will get a 3.5 out of 5, which is not bad by any means. So we'll go ahead and throw her into 4 out of 5 up here. And then we will do 3 out of 5 down in the power section. So boom, we'll have that. Pretty cool. And then we'll get rid of this. And then we will throw her down into 3 out of 5 in the power section. Cool. That's going to finish up D20 Woodworking's card. Again, make sure you go and support, show some love. Now we have my good friend here, Daring Lime. I've done a ton of collabs on his channel. He's done a ton on mine. And we're going to talk about the 2 cards he had. He had a really cool, premiere video as well that I was there for. So it was really cool. Showed some love and support on the video. And let's talk about these next 2 cards. So we're looking here. The two cards we have is, oh, he actually announced it. He announced them in a different order than they have it on Hall of Heroes. So I'm going to start with Safe House. So we have Safe House first. It is a 1-cost support, which states alter ego action, location, shield, exhaust the Safe House, and choose to either heal 2 damage from Nick Fury or place 1 threat on your suit form upgrade. So let's talk about it. From a fun standpoint, I really do like alter ego supports, and I like to go alter ego in general. This isn't news for me, as She-Hulk's one of my favorite heroes. I was going to say that in general, you know, Nick doesn't really get a ton from flipping down to alter ego other than like an extra card, and he can kind of control his suit form in a pinch if he needs to go back to stealth suit. So it does give him, this gives him more of a reason, I guess, to flip down into that alter ego form. It has some really nice heal, or it's a really nice heal. Again, it's not anything crazy like on May or even like Project Rebirth, but 2 health isn't nothing. And it's also, you know, if you don't need the heal, it can place a threat on your suit form that can turn into either a resource, damage, or some other way you could spend it, which is pretty good. Now that's getting us into the kind of the power side of the discussion. I'd say for a fun discussion, I do like the art. 3 out of 5. I like going alter ego, and it gives him more of a reason to do so. When we're talking about a power standpoint, I would see you would probably play this card most times when it ends up in your hand, but I could definitely see it's not all of the time. Since his stealth suit mechanic means he gets schemed on in hero form, I feel like he's not going to need to flip down to heal as much as other heroes will specifically, and I don't think he's gonna also have any shortage of threat on his suit through his, you know, basic activations and a card we're gonna see here in the future, and his thwarting cards and whatnot. I think he will have more than enough thwart as well. So again, although it gives him a slight reason to flip down alter ego, it's not like a huge reason in my opinion. But I will say it is kind of like a fail-safe that makes your flips even more impactful than they normally would be, because you can get like 2 threat on your suit, heal for 4, or, you know, 1 and 1. And then we also have to compare it to the litany of other 1-cost supports already in this game. And, you know, comparing it to those other ones, it kind of falls off a little bit. It kind of falls off even harder. It's good. It's not great, but it's also not bad. 3 out of 5, right in the middle. Both of the scores were 3 out of 5. So I'll say overall, I think Safe House lands on the 3 out of 5, which again is not bad by any means. Yeah, I do like the card, and I will be flipping to alter ego on Nick Fury, so it works out anyways. So we'll go ahead and throw this one also on a 3 out of 5 down here, and boom, there we go. So we're going to move on to the second card that Daring Lime ended up revealing, which was Intelligence Analysis. Now, I'm going to have a ton to say about this one. Let's talk about it. It is a 0-cost upgrade. It is a preparation card and a skill, and it has an interrupt. When you reveal a treachery, discard Intelligence Analysis and remove 1 threat from your suit form upgrade. Cancel the effects of that treachery card and discard it. There's a lot to take in here. First thing that I really love about it is that it's not an event, it's an upgrade, and a 0-cost upgrade at that. So it doesn't cost anything. Now, there is the hidden cost in it that says you have to remove a threat from your suit, but from my own predictions of how I think Nick Fury's going to play out, I don't think he's going to have any shortage of threat on his suit at almost any point in the game other than the very beginning. So this is almost always online. So let's talk about it from a fun standpoint. I like preparations conceptually. I like the idea that you're really preparing for the villain's turn and you're trying to counter everything they want to do. And I do like when the villain isn't able to play the game, admittedly. Although the mechanics of putting this on the table and waiting isn't fun, like in concept, being able to cancel a really nasty treachery card, not just the one revealed effects, everything on the treachery, and discard it, not even reveal another, is super fun, super strong, and really fun when it happens. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. And then from a power standpoint, I think it's only up from here. I feel like you have to really try hard to nitpick this card to not give it a perfect score. It costs nothing to put down on the table other than that 1 hidden cost of the threat on your suit to trigger it. And that Nick will have plenty of. It can be triggered in both hero and alter ego, which is also crazy because it's just an interrupt. And it's permanent because it's an upgrade, so it sticks on the board. It's also caught off guard protection. I mean, obviously you could choose to cancel it, but it wouldn't make sense at that point. So you can choose when you want to use it. It's not a forced interrupt, which is also super good. The only limiting factor, and there's two of them to this card, is that it's only treacheries you reveal. So in multiplayer, it can kind of mess up if you don't hit a treachery for a couple of turns. And also the fact that it's limited to only treacheries, which again, calling that a negative, I don't really know if I would. But I did find two negative things. Regardless of those two negatives, it's a 5 out of 5. This card is insanely good, and I will be playing it I can almost guarantee you every single time it's in my hand going forward when I play and get my hands on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This card is just great. It's just great. And then we'll throw it into, on fun, it's 5 out of 5, and then on power, it's 5 out of 5. The overall score is a 4.5 out of 5. It's awesome. We're nearing the end here. We're getting to the next reveals, which were from Web Warrior Fanatic. Again, great friend of mine. I actually appeared on his channel for a collab. I'm still thinking of one for mine. Let's talk about it here. He revealed two helicarriers, basically the Justice and the Aggression helicarrier that weren't yet revealed from Maria Hill. And we're going to talk about them. So let's start with the Douglas. This is a 6 cost support, like all the other helicarriers being 6 costs, except it's the Iliad out of 5. I can't remember. It is a unique card. It is a shield vehicle with 3 uses, 3 operation counters. As an action, you can exhaust the Douglas, remove 1 operation counter from it, and remove 2 threat from each scheme, ignoring any crisis icons in play. Let's talk about it. So, from a fun standpoint, I really like the idea of Maria in general, just playing these really big helicarriers and, supporting the table and doing all these things, just slapping them down and just having fun. Slapping down a helicarrier that can thwart for 2 on the main and any side schemes every turn is really fun, and doing it 3 times at its base, operation counters is also good. But I will say, it is bad value if it's just the main, but as soon as the player count starts going up and those side schemes start trickling up and getting more threat on them, this card will easily pay for itself over all of its uses. I'm going to say 4 out of 5 for how fun I think it is. But if we're talking about the power standpoint, you can't help but compare this to her identity specific helicarriers, the Pericles, and I forget the name of the two, the protection and the leadership one, but you can't help but compare it because they're all the same cost. And I could see this being really good at higher player counts because there's just going to be so many more side schemes on the table. But that being said, when I compare it to our other big helicarriers, this one just seems okay. You can't really buff the threat up at all, which is, I feel like its sweet spot is like in 2 and 3 player where the side scheme threat doesn't get insane. But once you get to like 4, like even though you're going to be removing 2 threat from a lot of schemes, it feels like it's not doing as much impact as it could be. Where if you're like removing 2 threat from a 6 threat side scheme in 2 player versus removing 2 threat from a 12 threat side scheme in 4 player. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. So overall, I'll say the rating for the Douglas is going to be a 3.5 out of 5, and we'll go ahead and throw that on there. Like I said, in multiplayer, 4 out of 5 I think is really solid for this card. Go ahead and throw it up here. And then sorry, not in multiplayer, for the fun rating, and then for the power rating we will do 3 out of 5. Cool. All right, we're getting to the very, very end. I mean, it's getting close here. We're doing the second of the helicarriers, which is the Bellerophon. Bellerophon. Apologies if I have no idea how to pronounce this. It is a shield vehicle, 6 cost support and aggression. It uses 3 missile counters as an action. You can exhaust the Bellerophon, remove 1 missile counter, and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player, discarding all tough status cards from those enemies first. Again, we're going to talk about this from the fun standpoint. I really like the conceptual idea of these huge 6 cost helicarriers because they go down on the table and they support the board. And this huge fantasy of calling in Shield's forces to support the table and, your allies and whatnot. It's just really cool and really fun thematically. That being said, dealing damage in my head does not register as a support effect, even though you can really see it as such because you're kind of getting rid of the pressure on an ally's board. And it's just like, thematically, this Helicarrier doesn't work for me in my head for a fun indicator. I'm going to give this, I think, the first 1 out of 5. I feel like I would rather play every single other Helicarrier before putting this down on the table. And at that point, we've probably already won the game through all the support and great effects of the other ones. Not to say that this one is bad, which we're going to get into the power discussion here. So from a power standpoint, I really do like the idea of changing those 3 damage identity cards into a Helicarrier that has 3 uses that you can spread across the table. I think it's, it's really versatile, and since the fact that it breaks the toughs first as well, or it doesn't break them, it just kind of discards them before it does the damage. I just think that's really cool and fun. And I was gonna say, much like the Douglas though, which is the one we just saw, the Justice one, although I think the effect is fun and it can see a lot of use in specific minion heavy scenarios, I do think it is a bit limited compared to the other Helicarriers, and for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. So an overall score of 2 out of 5. So we're going to go ahead and throw this on the tier list here. So like I said, for me specifically, this I think is going to be, might be the only D tier on, the list, because I'm just not with it. I'm just not with it, I'll be honest. So yes, that'll be D tier, but I do think the card is good in both solo and, multiplayer. I think it can find a use, especially in specific scenarios. Go ahead and throw it here at 3. Okay, now we're going to move on to the last of the reveals. It's not technically the last reveals, but it's the last reveals I can really, kind of rate on this kind of 1 out of 5, 1 through 5 scale, because the last set of reveals were actually a Nemesis set. So we're going to talk about this card now. Again, we're going to La Mano de Thanos. Please make sure, it's the Spanish speaking channel. Please make sure to check out the video and show some support on the reveal. It's so awesome that, FFG sources, creators from all over the community. This is no different. They got to reveal both of the identity specific allies, which I think is a crazy, honor to get to do, because I think these are always a ton of fun. And let's get started with the first one. We have a 4-cost Nick Fury ally. The art is great, of course, with 2 thwart, 2 attack with the asterisk, and 3 health. And it's Maria Hill's signature ally with the response. After Nick Fury uses a basic power, place 1 all-purpose counter on a shield support. So let's talk about this from a fun standpoint. As you heard me critique earlier, putting an ally down on the table isn't usually the most fun thing in the world. I do really love the idea that they are each other's allies, so you can play the team up card even in solo. And what is it called? He comes in with good stats, and he lets you put some of those like really great all-purpose counters on your Helicarriers, which gets you really big value, over time. If you already have those big Helicarriers in play, especially. So I'll give him a 3 out of 5 for fun. But when we're thinking about this from a power standpoint conceptually, his basic power doesn't really do a ton until you already have a lot of setup going. And this is going to be a theme with a lot of Maria's cards, where her cards are very slow tempo, and Nick Fury is included in that. Putting a 4-cost ally in a hero who already is playing like a ton of like high cost 4, 5, 6 cost cards, I think is kind of crazy to me, because although the counters are extremely good, like if you put one of these counters on the ally, a 6-cost Helicarrier, I mean, you just turned 1 activation into like 4, 5, or 6 resources. And again, there's always the argument that you can put him into play using that Helicarrier, so you're not actually paying the 4 cost, and he's like refunding it. Look, I see all of that, but I just would have loved if he was a 3-cost ally or slightly cheaper. I think that, like I just critiqued, she's gonna already have a ton of high cost cards she needs to get on the board. His effect is really strong. So I'm not going to be too upset or too harsh. Again, we'll do another 3 out of 5 for an overall score on both metrics of a 3 out of 5, which is not bad. He's good. I just wish maybe the tempo would work out, slightly better in Maria's favor, but that might just be a criticism of the hero at large. Again, so for fun, we're throwing him in the 3 out of 5, and then for power, also throwing him in the 3 out of 5. So that works out. Now we're getting to the last player card revealed, which is none other than Maria Hill, which is Nick Fury's signature ally. So she is a 3-cost ally with 2 thwart, 1 attack, and 3 health, and she has an interrupt. She has the asterisk only on her thwart, which says, when Maria Hill thwarts, place the remove threat on your suit form upgrade. Now that's how you make an exit. So we're talking about the fun standpoint. Again, the idea that they have each other as their signature allies is really fun. I really love the art on this card. And, you know, the kit, her kit specifically ties almost seamlessly into Nick Fury's kit, which we'll get into the power section. I think this card is great. Let's give it a 4 out of 5 here. So now we're going to talk about a power standpoint, and this is where they're going to differ. So although Nick Fury for Maria is good, I think Maria for Nick Fury, this ally, is insanely strong. As far as identity specific allies go, I think this could be kind of in a top tier contention, maybe not like a top 3, top 5, but this ally is extremely good in the context of his kit with his suit form upgrade. The fact that she places all threat she removes from her basic thwart on the suit form is crazy. It's not just one, it's all of the thwart. So, which immediately can be turned into either 2 damage or even better, 2 resources through his watch. And since it's all her threat removed, you can also kind of Voltron this ally a little bit, give her an inspired or something to buff up her thwart stat. So paying that cost to buff up her thwart it kind of like refunds or rebates itself, because now instead of thwarting for 2, she's going to thwart for 3, and instead of getting 2 resources on your suit upgrade, you're going to get 3 or even 4. You know, the sky's the limit. As much as you want to bump her thwart, then you maybe sidekick her or give her some health, and you're just making this like resource, you know, loop that is really strong and really fun. I think this is a 5 out of 5, and I think the overall would be a 4.5 out of 5. I really love this Maria Hill ally. I think she's just really good and versatile, and she will be seeing, you know, definitely a lot of play from me in my solo games. It's almost like one of those cards that just, when it enters your hand, because it does so much, kind of feels like a must play, at least to me. Yeah, she's great. She is great. I will go ahead and cover, I will briefly cover the Nemesis sets here, because, I think that we want to shout out the last content creator anyways. So the Nemesis set was revealed by Critical Encounters. Now I don't actually have that link up, so give me 1 second here. So as I said, I'm not really going to go super into depth into rating these cards, but make sure you go and check out Critical Encounters. They got to reveal 3 cards from Nick Fury's Nemesis set, which seem pretty nasty. I'm going to look at them on the Hall of Heroes website because it's just kind of easier to parse. So we have Orion, which is his Nemesis minion, the Leviathan tag, which is crazy. The art is really cool. 2 scheme, 2 attack, 6 health, toughness, and Orion can have any number of tough status cards on him, which is kind of scary. And as a forced response, after Orion takes any amount of damage, he gets a tough status. So this guy is all about, you know, renewing his tough statuses over and over. Again, only 6 health and toughness isn't the end of the world. You will be able to kind of take him out pretty easily, so it's not too bad, all things considered. He does have minions, which are also tough, with an asterisk on their scheme stat of 0. 2 attack, 0 scheme, 4 health. After Leviathan Soldier schemes, deal 1 damage to the engaged player's identity. So even though they scheme for 0, you do take a bit of a hit if you want to flip down against them. Again, all things being considered, that's not too bad. And then we have the Acquire Infinity formula, which is the side scheme. So it comes in with 5 threat. You know, this is kind of nasty in solo, but, you know, as you go up to higher player counts, it's a bit more manageable to deal with. 5 off of the bat, off of like Shadows of the Past or Pursued by the Past is kind of nasty because it's not super easy to get rid of. And it has a nasty force response too, which says after Nick Fury takes any amount of damage, give Orion a tough status card. Or if Orion is not in play, find him and put him into play against Nick Fury. You want to get this removed from the game. Again, it's not the worst, you know, encounter set in the game by any means, but this is a nasty side scheme. We don't want that in the game even a little bit. And then we'll go over for kind of the things they revealed on their live stream. This is Maria Hill's Nemesis minion. I'm pretty sure it doesn't actually have the name. She kind of has like an Ultron thing going on here. So the controller is a 2 scheme, 1 attack, 6 health, elite psionic. After he activates against you, you remove 1 counter from one of your supports. And then if Control the Innocence is in play, put the top card of your deck and then play face down as a controlled minion. This is the side scheme with 3 per player. When revealed, find the Control the Innocence environment and put it into play. And then when defeated, discard each controlled minion. Place 1 all-purpose counter on a support for each minion discarded this way, and then you have this controlled innocence environment, which is essentially Ultron drones, but it's just like, you know, it's a different gimmick in a Nemesis set. I will say this one is definitely a bit easier than Nick Fury's in my opinion. As long as you throw out this side scheme, you don't even have to deal with the like drone minions in front of you, and you can replace any of the counters it took from you on different supports, which is kind of maybe even a boon at some points. I don't think it's too bad. And then the thing I really wanted to shout out is I love that I think for each of the waves they're going to be doing specific energy, genius, and strength. I didn't know what they were going to do after X-Men, and this is their answer. This card is super fun. I just love the art on it. Genius as well, you know, it looks great. And then I love this strength art. It's just really cool. And then I think that's one of the Streets of Chaos villains, but I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, that's the end of today's video. I hope you guys really enjoyed me covering the content creator reveals, giving my kind of predictions and thoughts of how fun for me specifically I think they'd be and how powerful I think they are. We'll go ahead and swing back to that, we'll go ahead and swing back to that image right now. Probably throw it up on the screen as well. This is what the finalized tier list looks like. Let me know, do you agree or disagree? Let me know what you think about all the content creator revealed cards down in the comment section down below. Are you excited for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Which one are you playing first? Just leave it all down below. That's it for me today. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is coming up soon. The delay sucks because it would have been here today, but you know, you roll with the punches. It is what it is, and we'll move forward together. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.